Ulysses S. Grant's powerful quote, "In every battle, there comes a time when both sides consider themselves beaten. Then he who continues the attack wins," is a profound insight that transcends the literal trenches of war and speaks to the very heart of human struggle. It is not just a reflection on military strategy, but a striking commentary on the human condition, especially in the face of adversity. In this one line, Grant distills an eternal truth about what it really takes to win, not just in war, but in life, work, relationships, and any pursuit worth fighting for. The essence of the statement lies in the recognition that perseverance, more than any other factor, is the decisive element that separates success from failure, triumph from defeat. At first glance, Grant's words might seem specific to combat, a veteran general's reflection on the chaos of war. But look deeper, and you find an uncanny relevance to any scenario where people face daunting challenges. Consider what happens in any fierce conflict, whether it be in business, personal goals, or a creative endeavor. Both parties or participants may reach a breaking point, a moment when fatigue sets in, hope seems lost, and the reasons for continuing start to fade. That moment, when both sides feel overwhelmed, demoralized, and ready to surrender, is exactly the point Grant identifies as pivotal. Because in that shared crisis of confidence, the side that simply refuses to give up, that finds one last ounce of grit to keep going, becomes the one that eventually claims victory. This truth plays out everywhere, all the time. In history, we see it in movements for civil rights and justice, where activists kept pushing long after the odds seemed impossible. We see it in athletes who claw their way back after near defeat, in inventors who weather failure after failure before achieving a breakthrough, and in artists who persist through years of obscurity before their work is recognized. Success in any meaningful endeavor often requires navigating the very same battlefield of despair that Grant describes. A psychological war zone where the mind whispers it's all for nothing, where the body aches, where the dream starts to feel foolish or out of reach. And yet, the difference between those who lose and those who prevail isn't necessarily talent, resources, or even luck. It's often the simple, brutal decision to keep going when everything else screams to stop. Psychologists call this trait grit, the ability to sustain passion and perseverance over long periods despite setbacks. Angela Duckworth, who popularized the term in her groundbreaking work, argues that grit is a more reliable predictor of success than IQ or social intelligence. And this aligns perfectly with Grant's insight. The will to push through that psychological fog of defeat is not just rare, it's often what determines outcomes. The moments when people are most tempted to quit are often just a step away from breakthroughs. But because most can't see that next step clearly, they fall back. Those who keep moving forward despite fear and fatigue tap into a reserve of strength that few ever access. In a broader societal sense, Grant's quote also serves as a critique of the way we perceive and define success. Too often, success is portrayed as a straight line, a series of wins stacking neatly atop each other. But reality is much messier. Most victories are born in failure, refined through struggle, and made possible by enduring long stretches of seeming futility. Grant's own military career mirrors this idea. Before becoming the commanding general who would lead the Union to victory in the Civil War, Grant experienced numerous setbacks, resigning from the Army amid rumors of alcoholism, struggling in civilian life, and facing ridicule and dismissal. Yet, when the time came, he brought a uniquely determined mindset to the battlefield, one that prioritized persistence over flair, attrition over theatrics. His leadership proved that tenacity could, in fact, be more powerful than brilliance, and that holding the line, sometimes quite literally, was the surest path to eventual triumph. On a personal level, this quote should strike a chord with anyone who's ever felt ready to throw in the towel. Maybe you've been working toward a goal that feels impossible. Maybe the rejections keep piling up, or the progress seems infinitesimal. You're exhausted, demoralized, and uncertain if it's worth the fight. In those moments, Grant's wisdom offers a brutal but beautiful truth. You're not alone in feeling beaten. Even the opposition, the obstacle, the other side, of your battle is likely just as weary. That realization shifts the perspective. You don't have to win the war all at once. You just have to take one more step than the adversity you're facing. You have to persist beyond the point of mutual exhaustion, because that's where the transformation happens. In literature, this idea is echoed time and again. From Homer's Odyssey to J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter, the hero's journey almost always includes a point where the protagonist believes all is lost. These low points are not incidental, they are essential. They forge character, crystallize resolve, and force the hero to dig deeper than ever before. The journey from despair to victory isn't just dramatic, it's emblematic of how humans achieve greatness. Fiction mirrors life here. The darkest hours are often just before the crucial turning point. But only those who stay in the fight long enough get to experience that moment of turnaround. Ultimately, Grant's quote isn't a romanticization of suffering, it's a strategic and emotional blueprint. It says, recognize that despair is part of the process. Expect it. Prepare for it. Know that you will feel defeated, but also know that your opponent, whatever it may be, likely feels the same. What makes the difference is what you do next. If you continue to attack, if you push just a little bit further, you shift the momentum. The tide begins to turn, not because the challenge has disappeared, but because you've demonstrated the resilience to outlast it. So next time you find yourself in the thick of something that feels impossible, whether it's a personal goal, a creative struggle, a career aspiration, or even an emotional battle, remember Grant's words. Both sides, both forces, both internal and external adversaries may feel defeated. But the one who presses on, who refuses to retreat, who continues the attack, that's the one who wins. Not because they never felt like quitting, but because they never let that feeling have the final say.